What is up, everybody? Happy 2024. It has been a minute, but we are super excited to have everyone here. So much has happened since the last time we met. MI3's come out. We've got real-time replies coming in, 100x faster possibility of closing in deals, and a lot more. And obviously, we've got Lucas over here, who I'm very excited to announce in a minute. But for those who are dropping in over here, by the way, we've got a lot of registrations, so it's going to be a very exciting event. It's going to be bang bang, so it's going to be 30 minutes in and out. So don't worry, we're going to pack it with value. But while we're doing this, good morning, Dave. Can you drop in which part of the world you are from? Drop in your city, drop in your country, and I'm going to try and make you feel selfish, not selfish, jealous. Tell me what temperature you're in right now, because I'm sitting at a nice 30 degrees. So anyone in winter? Haha. 50 Fahrenheit. Okay, look, we work in the metric system, so Celsius. London -3. I am not jealous, Tom, at all. 1 Fahrenheit, that also does not seem like something I'm self. It was -16. All right, enjoy stock. This is awesome. All over the world. Great. We've got New Mexico, we've got London, we've got the US, we've got the Philippines, Trinidad. Nice, lovely, 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 lovely. Welcome on board, everyone. Welcome from every part of the world. This is awesome. We'll kick off in another 2 minutes, maybe one more minute. We're just going to wait for a few more people to join. We'll run a quick introduction, and then Lucas will kick off. Please do note, if you've got questions, Q&A section or... Okay, we've got a Q&A section. Wait, we're just going to try and enable it for you for a moment. Sweet. So we'll try and get the Q&A section. They'll show up at the bottom of your Zoom recording. In a situation we don't get that happening, just drop in your question in the chat. We'll let you know. But for now, just keep dropping in where you're from across the world. Thank you for popping in. And please, hello, Peru. Nice. Please make sure you keep your microphone muted. We'd appreciate that a lot. Awesome. We're closing 100 people. And we'll start in 1 more minute. Palm Springs, California. We got Indonesia, Miami. You got Saudi. Lovely. We got Lisbon. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. We got Mumbai as well. And we got Medellin. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Bangalore. Okay, not too far. Chicago, Illinois. Wait, Chicago's in Illinois? Maybe it is. My bad. All right. Anirudh reached out to Rohan. Look at that. Cold ass Michigan. Nice. Argentina, congrats on Messi getting the golden ball thing. Ballon d'Or. I watch football. All right. Okay, sweet. We're gonna kick off. Good morning, evening, and afternoon, everyone, clearly from all over the world. Cold emails, salespeople, thank you so much for jumping on in the first of many, many massive events we're going to be having at Smartlead. To kick off this event, we've got Lucas over here from the community. Many of you may have seen him in the Slack group. If you have not, we will drop in the Slack link over here. Lucas is a partner at Peakora. He was responsible for building the entire outbound engine for their business and is the owner of Outbound Lead. We had a lot of interesting conversations with him and saw that he's really, really doing good, important things with his outbound campaigns on Smartlead. So Lucas, thank you for joining on board. We'd love a very quick introduction, and then let's jump into the agenda because I think a lot of questions need to be answered. Oh, you're muted, mate. 1 second, we got a technical glitch. Just a minute.
Okay, that works.
Perfect.
Cool.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, thanks, Vaibhav, for having me here. Super nice to be here as the first Indeed Office Hour of the year. So hope everybody of you kicked off well. So indeed, I'm part of Peakora as outbound lead. So not just taking care of doing outbound practices inside the company, but also creator of the Outbound Engine program, which is a program where we teach other startups how to implement their own outbound engine with bulletproof processes. So yeah, we've been have quite dozens of clients now and help launch lots of campaigns there. So very happy to share more about that.
Of course, super, super cool. All right, mate. Well, we're gonna jump right into it. Everyone's early morning to late night, so we'll kick off. Lucas, let's start off and discuss about what exactly a robust outbound engine does for a startup business, right? We're taking it about any startup. A lot of people frown on it because cold emails don't work, etc. But let's just jump into it. Where does an outbound engine and the importance of a robust outbound engine come into this?
Yeah, of course. So I mean, basically, as you're going to grow as a startup or even come to be a scale up, if everything goes fine, you want to have an outbound engine that kind of follows you and be able where, as much as depending on which growth stage you are, you want to make sure that you can rely on the system. And so, how do you do this? Well, you need, like, I think a lot of very successful companies and startups is that you have to trust the process. And so, you have to put bulletproof processes into place from the moment that you decide whom are you going to reach out to the moment where you say, okay, I'm going to put this type of message and then optimize this on the long run. So that's why it's super important to have a very solid process behind. And so basically here, what is interesting is that I think that the four pillars that each startups need to respect when they want to build up such an outbound engine as the follows. The first one is the conversion strategy. So meaning trying to understand what exactly then you want to put into place and when you push forward, when you reach out to specifically a target segment. So depending on who you want to target, if you say, okay, I want to target restaurants or I want to reach out to banks, of course, the conversion strategy is not the same. Maybe you want to push out more in events to initiate a discussion or an exclusive event. Maybe you want to push out something where, yeah, what is trigger or interest based. And so this is why it's one of the most important pillars, because then afterwards you can go for the following pillars. So one, which is database preparation, of course, how to nail that, outbound infrastructure, how to set up all the emails and set everything up with a tool like Smartleads, and then how to optimize your campaign as another important pillar.
Okay, but let's talk about that, right? You mentioned the usage of events, right? Let's dive that. I want to dive into that a bit further. Can you give me an example of whether it's actually implemented and you got a successful outcome from that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got quite some examples. First one would be, let's say that you yourself are participating to a conference, so Web Summit, for example. And I think that could be really cool is that as we're all part of the same reason that we're going to such an event, you have access to the networking platform. And so what it is cool is that you can just do a bit of filtering, check out what is your target audience. For example, enriching for founders, and then just scrape all these parts and then say with a campaign before going to the event, hey, I'm going there. Should we meet, grab a coffee, something I have which would be of interest. So this is one of the aspects that
Right.
could be really
Okay.
cool. Another one could be, okay, that you organize yourself your own events, and it's more of a soft conversion instead, of course, of just selling your own products. You're saying, hey, I have this webinar about this specific product, and here I want to prepare a whole campaign behind to invite people to this webinar. So that's like
Okay.
some sort of other strategy.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Now, you've got a unique approach that you've spoken down: conversion strategy, data preparation, outbound infrastructure, and campaign optimization, right? Four core pillars that we, particularly are referring to. What's database prep? I mean, is it just scraping leads? What am I looking at? Because everyone cares as much as they care about leads and outbound marketing and deliverability. I think data is almost, if not more important, right? What are your common data sources?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, for me, it feels like database prep is like 80% of the work when you prepare an outbound campaign, right? Because if you manage to nail exactly who you want to reach out to and the data that you need, if you want to, for example, put it afterwards in your messaging, then you've got most of the work which is done. I mean, again, what is important is trying to understand where you get the initial data from. And here you have different online sources. You've got the most famous ones. You've got Apollo and Sales Navigator for B2B leads. If you will have more other types of industry that you're working in, I was talking about restaurants, then you can use Google Maps, scrape Google Maps, and then enrich it with Play, for example, as a tool that I guess most of you know by now, where you want to add different other data points that you can use for your messaging. So what is important is first determine where you want to get this initial source. And so it can even be like local directories. So you got Yellow Pages, stuff like that. Let's say that if somebody is selling some services for hairdressers, I don't know, something like this, then you can also go to the Yellow Pages and scrape that and then enrich with whatever you want of extra data with Clay. So yeah, at the end of end of the day, it's just researching at the beginning and then enriching with whatever other data points you want to have with tools like Clay.
So Clay is your main go-to from what I can pick up over here. Clay is kind of the main driver of your source of data at this point. Can I?
Yeah, I mean,
that?
Clay is I mean, you can definitely find some data already from Clay itself.
Sure.
But then there's some other data that you can find from other sources. So here it's just a question of preparing that, researching, scraping. If you want to scrape, for example, Yellow Pages, then you can use webscraper.io to find all the gyms, all the hairdressers, and then afterwards you upload this to Clay if you want to have more information about all this list of accounts or leads that you have scraped, basically.
And when you gave an example of the hairdresser, etc., do you see D7 leads play good value nowadays with local businesses or no more?
I think, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good database to have.
Yeah.
But as you want to grow and scale your startup, what is important is that you want to make sure you want to coverage as much as your market as possible. And so using just one database is great to start with if you're small. But if you want to scale, you want to make sure you cover most of the market as possible. And so that's why it's interesting to do more research and use different online sources and databases that afterwards you want to put together so that you can cover as much as the market as possible. And that's also something super important as you want to scale, that you make sure that you don't forget any single opportunity as part of your market.
Okay. So again, in this journey that you've spoken about here, right? So, people speak about outbound infrastructure a lot. Let's dive into that. What is outbound infrastructure? Are you talking about like no-code softwares that you've got in place, Zapier's, Make, N8Ns? What does infrastructure mean to you?
I mean, it's the typical tech setup to start with, the SM, like the SPF, DMARC, and so forth, making sure you have your whole set of dedicated domain names that you create just for the sole purpose of doing outbound. Then afterwards, you have got the email senders, you do some email warming. So of course, something that you guys do great at Smartlead. But it's also about anything that you want to connect so that you can log in and track your data as closely as possible once leads, come back to you positively. So that means how to follow up with afterwards, after the pre-sales part, which is covered by Outbound, how to hand this over to the sales. And this is also an important part that a lot of people neglect because it's just about, okay, I'm just waiting for replies, but also it would be nice to see those people who actually didn't reply or those who reply negatively. And how do you track all of this in your single source of truth, which is normally your CRM. So it could be a HubSpot, Pipedrive, or whatsoever. And that's why it's super important to create all these connections. And so definitely what you do to connect these different tools, you have Zapier, you have make.com, among the most popular ones. And if you do a minimum of this, while tracking is also master of data afterwards that you can use for further insights and further knowing how you can, refactor some leads you reached out before and so forth. So that's why it's super important there to not forget about that.
Okay, so if I can summarize what you've said or almost like simplify it, per you infrastructure is effectively creating the mapping all the dots, right? From when we actually get a reply to what we do to the reply, where we host the data, where we host the intent, and then how we actually handle the response cycle, right? That's how you would encompass infrastructure. And you've just mentioned a whole bunch of things from make and edit and where does Zapier sit? You think Zapier is good enough? Is it too expensive nowadays and people using N8N and make more often?
Yeah, well, I mean, Zappers, if you're starting at the basics, let's say, if you're a small
Gotcha.
startup, it's more like easy to put into place. If you want to scale up your outbound game, definitely go for meg.com,
Okay.
and even N8N. Well, I mean, of course, it's a bit more learning curve, but at the end of the day, it really pays off. So completely agree with you, man, on that. Definitely at the end of the day, I'm doing some stuff with Make nowadays,
Okay.
not much with Zapier anymore, for example.
Okay.
So yeah.
Fair enough. There's some really good questions in over here on how they can do it with startups, and we're running into that second question, so you'll have that question answered, everyone. But right before we jump into it, I've got one last question for you. Optimization. What are the key metrics that you're targeting? I have to ask because everyone always asks. Are you tracking open rates? And A, if you are, I'd love to know why. And then B, if you're not, what exactly can a business use to track, if not open rates? Because obviously I may preach it saying don't track open rates, not good, but obviously you want to measure some data. and what type of data do I go for then?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's actually a complex question because to me, it feels like all the different metrics that you can have could be helpful to some extent. I mean, open rate, ideally, you want to not track it to improve your deliverability in your outbound campaigns. But I also feel that open rate is some good indicator, of course, of your deliverability from the start. So maybe it's not going to impact that much your deliverability of the campaign, but it's also going to make a difference. Okay, if you have 30% open rate compared to 80%, then there's probably something going on with your deliverability. So that's why I feel it's still important to some extent to have a look at it. But of the most important, of course, is reply rate. And what is interesting that I've seen in some other campaigns is like, how do you interpret your reply rate? If you have a reply rate where you have a lot of positive replies, as the portion of your reply rate, of course, that means that you kind of nailed it. You have a very minimum proof of value for your messaging in your campaign. If you have a lot of negative reply rates, one interesting thing that I've realized is that first of all, it means that still your persona is right, because people who reply to you, that means that because they're actually concerned about what you're talking about. So even if people reply negatively to you, it's actually not so much of a bad sign. It means that at least you know that the persona, the people you're reaching out to, are actually a minimum good. Now, when it comes to if it's negative, then you have a high negative reply rates. That means that your value proposition, what you're pushing inside your messaging, is just not good enough for that particular persona, or is it that you're just actually not answering a pain at all? And this is where you actually need to deep dive further, maybe do some interview questions, just get more insight so that you know what is it that you need to push in your outbound campaign at the end of the day.
Okay, fair enough. And one last question before we go into the next piece. If I'm not getting replies, then where do I even begin?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, for sure, there's a lot of factors here to take into account. I've seen that I mean, it always depends. I've seen that sometimes it's related to ICP, it's just that your ICP that you're targeting is simply not a good one. So just change ICP, do some little tests, do small campaigns there and that with different sets of your different ICPs, and then you realize which one gets the most return, and then you can just double down more and more in that ICP where it gets more return. Of course, at the end of the day, a good, perfect outbound campaign when you have a minimum results is just the alignment of the stars between the people you're reaching out to, the value proposition, and the right timing. And so if your outbound campaign is not as good or don't have any replies at all, then you have to check out what is it from these three pillars that you need to adjust in order to make sure you can realign the stars again, in a nutshell.
Okay, fair enough. Makes perfect sense. Awesome. Now, I want to jump into some of the questions that people have asked and sort of maybe if you can guide us through this, because a lot of companies don't believe in using outbound when they're a small business. It's just not worth the budget, not worth the effort, all that jazz. You need to hire a salesperson to do the booking of the meetings, jump on the calls. We don't know how many will actually convert, etc., and all that kind of jazz, right? So walk us through that. Walk us through how you have your strategies in helping companies going from startups to scale up stages using an outbound marketing system.
Yeah, so I mean, where can I start? Definitely, there's a lot that can be said here. I mean, first of all, it's just a question about how exactly you want to put out your process. And basically, what is interesting is that a lot of people are saying, okay, outbound is actually very interesting because it's one of the only channels where you can still have some leads with a low cost of acquisition. So there's like a few things that could happen. You can use what you call now product-led growth, where you use where your product itself is selling itself, such as Slack or Dropbox. Outbound is also one of the channels where you can still get some leads, acquire some new leads and hot leads with a minimum of cost that you can put into place. And so you can start fresh, like if you're a small startup with outbound, because it could definitely, if you have a minimum of a engine and process into place, even if you need the sales to follow up on the leads. I mean, at some points, if you reach out massively to people in a personalized way, I mean, your bandwidth of top of funnel is going to be much more increased. And so, well, that is going to be actually done by optimizing your resources by, using tools like Clay and just reaching out massively without smart leads. And so as you grow up, what I found interesting was that outbound also could be not just as part of as a silo activity that you can do, is also can be part of a general acquisition strategy, because depending on your strategy as you want to become a scale up or as you want to grow, you for sure realize then sometimes not just one touch point is enough when you reach out to people. You know, people, they need to see you for different means, through LinkedIn, because they've seen your newsletter and so forth. And so taking outbound as also part of a more general acquisition strategy makes a lot of sense, by still using this whole engine that really makes you want to optimize your resources. And so if, for example, you're account based, you have a high ACV, annual contract value of, I don't know, 50, 100K with your target segments, then you know that you don't just need to reach out to one person once. You need to reach out to different personas. You know, you've got the influencer, the buyer, and so forth. And that's why outbound also can help you out there, because, well, you can identify all these different personas, reaching out to them with your own specific way. And this is also part then of this long-term strategy that can really help you out convert big time on the long run.
Okay. And where do salespeople come in? Let's say startups have budget. Like the question was asked, right? Is okay, you're getting replies, we're getting messages, and so on and so forth. But where would we get where would we get the infrastructure to manage these replies? Where would we get the infrastructure to get people to jump into these meetings? Is that something that the founder themselves needs to handle in the early days, you reckon? Is that the best sort of framework to go ahead? Because that's what I used to do, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So again, it depends on the stage that you're at right now. I mean, if you're very early stage, of course, the sell is founder led. So
sure,
definitely, what helps at the beginning is that you put your name as your CEO. Most of the time, people in front of you who are your leads, they see that you're the CEO, reaching out to them personally. Of course, you've got much more chances of getting some replies, for
sure,
example.
okay, okay,
So it really depends. The goal is really trying to find at which point there's a threshold where you should really switch from founder-led to sales-led. So you're recruiting people to manage the sales afterwards.
okay,
And so, I mean, it's also depending on the bandwidth that you need to cope with. If you say, okay, I need only 2 opportunities per month because my ACV is super high, then of course you can still maintain it founder-led for quite some time. If you need, I don't know, 1,000 people to sign a contract with you in a month, then of course the founder just can't deal with that, and so you need to recruit sales.
okay.
And so, of course, there's way of just improving how you can treat each of these different warm leads. You've got the new master inbox of Smartleads.
Yeah.
Even afterwards, how to treat it quite seamlessly in your CRM, such as HubSpot or Pipedrive. But then the goal is really to analyze at what point you want to switch that and develop, all this department that could really treat your bandwidth afterwards in terms of positive leads.
Okay. I'd love to get some examples, right? Real world stories, success stories that was done by your method and Peakora's platform. I think that'll really help sort of validate the thought process over here.
Yeah. I mean, I have like a few slides actually that I can
Yeah,
share.
yeah, please, if you could, we'd love it.
Let me just check it out.
For those asking questions, don't worry, stick to the end. We'll have every question you've asked answered. We've got a few more things to go through, and then right after that, we will jump into the questions. We're almost there.
Okay, it seems I have to
Oh, you
change
need to
something in my something
you
in
need
my
permission
system.
access. You need permission
Yeah,
access.
something like that. Okay, it tells me I need to quit and reopen Zoom to share my screen.
Maybe that's because Zoom's new for you, but what I'll do is I'll make you co-host. Just check to see if you can do it. One moment.
Yeah,
Make co-host. All right, try and see if you can share your screen now. Unless you don't have core permissions to begin with.
yeah. Okay, let me check it out. Okay, seems like it's working now.
Great. Awesome. Awesome.
Cool. So this is just an example about quickly coming back to the database preparation part, where something a bit more concrete. basically, either you can build up your database bit by bit. If you know that you have a huge market, then you can say, okay, I just built up all my database of service providers or IT service providers I want to reach out to. And so you can do this bit by bit, country by country, for example, etc. If you're a bit more like account based, because you know that your market is limited, let's say you have 20,000 companies overall globally that you know that you need to reach out to, then there's like this whole part actually which is important in the beginning, which is to mapping out the whole market. And this is some example what you can do. So this client of ours, they needed to target energy traders all over the world. It's pretty specific, but also pretty niche and so pretty limited. And so how do we recognize such and discover all these people? Basically, we realized that each of these companies who aren't necessarily all easily findable on Smartlead, on Sales Navigator or on Apollo, well, you can find them differently with some sort of reverse engineering. So what we did is that we just looked out for companies recruiting, as of today, energy traders. And so also those who before recruited energy traders before in the past. And the goal was just to scrape everything there. We had like about, I don't know, 100,000 leads. And then the goal was to trying to find the company behind. And so it took a bit of time, but at the end of the day, we came up with this very targeted list of companies, because then we could also exactly know the number of traders that you can see here, and then sort by actually, okay, should we go from the top because these are the biggest accounts, to the bottom by those who recruit less traders. So that was actually a very interesting case that we've done there. And so typically, how did we scrape that? We use Phantom Buster. Some of you maybe know, otherwise I'll share the link. But because with Phantom Buster, what's interesting is that you can also, when you do some scraping of the leads, get those where they were also the name of the companies where they were previously working at before. So not just the company that we're working at as of today, but also previously. So it was also super interesting to get this data out in order to compile the most extensive database of accounts as possible. And just another thing that we did, so super nice. We were talking about events actually. That was also for another client that we did, where their strategy was to say, okay, we want to invite people to some exclusive events, so like roundtables, workshops, whatsoever. What we did is just make sure we understood what was the exact persona who would be interested as part of their accounts. So here was all the people interested into innovation and digital, such as a digital transferring manager. We've just put everything up. We enrolled them. We actually even identify if we had to speak to them in German or in English, because it was actually based in Switzerland. And then we segmented this by contact or company owner. And so at the end of the day, this thing was so nice, because also it's just soft conversion. It wasn't something about presenting the product or the services that we're doing. It's like, hey, we want to invite you to the exclusive workshop. And actually that generated in 120 SQLs out of this whole campaign, and in deal pipeline value of about more than 1 million and 1.5 million. So I was actually surprised myself to see such a thing, but it worked out superly fine, like just casually reaching out to people, hey, can you want to come over? And when they were doing the first call before they joined the workshop, it was actually half of them were saying, oh, actually, I'm interested in knowing what you want to do, what you guys are selling, the services. And it was just such a good way of smooth transition to actually doing some real sales demo calls at the end of the day. So very nice.
Mate, these numbers are, I mean, I just don't know if you can just go on that. Those are ridiculous numbers, just for everyone who's looking at it. One thing I want to point out is you can see that it doesn't necessarily always require tons of volume, right? Like he's achieved some serious numbers, just less than 1,000 cents, right, per campaign. But you look at those open rates, if you care about them, 90, 80% open rates, and the reply rates and positive reply rates are impressive, because people tend to have this notion that they need to, just blast thousands and thousands to get something to happen. But clearly you're doing this in sub 1,000. So yeah, kudos to you. And this is obviously why we're doing this call, because I want to learn from you. So, but yes, please carry on.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why it's interesting, and it's super important to define what is your conversion strategy. I mean, and it always varies from one industry to the other, what kind of company you are. If your contract value is low, then you need to be more into the optic of reaching out to a lot of people, more thousands, dozens of thousands in a campaign, because you want to ensure you have a better, a greater bandwidth. If your contract value is higher, then you could go more account-based and work it on a more precise and granular level. So it really depends also here, and that's why it's super important to make sure you define this in the first place. Yeah. And then you can come up with such nice campaigns at the end.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's awesome. I think you were showing us one more slide. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, just one thing. So like something that we can build up with Clay. So for example, it's been made with make.com. What was something that we use ourselves typically, of course, because we want to reach out to startups that just freshly raised some money because we know they have some money to spend, and that's where we pop in. And so what we do is we just connect ourselves on like these, instead of paying thousands of bucks per month for pitch book, deal room, something like this, what we do is that we go like to this, let me just open it for you, like this newspaper, very famous in Switzerland. So every time there's a funding raised, there's something that's published here.
Oh,
So
you got
what
a
we
pub
did,
sub. Okay, nice.
yeah, it pops
Yeah.
up. So what we did is that we captured the RSS feed, which is normally a sort of stream, for those who don't know, that you can take as a copy when a blog post is published, a new blog post is published. The goal was to then capture this on the tool called Make, which is the automation tool where you can capture this. Then what I wanted to do is then push what has been captured to Clay. And then I just started treating the data afterwards. So what was cool is that, well, based on the initial data that we have here,
Yeah.
what we see is that I was asking, okay, please to the AI, go on the website and tell me what is the name of the company, the domain name, and the amount raised. And then
Super
based on
smart.
that, I do like
Super
some
smart.
sort of waterfall enrichment,
Mm,
enrich the company. And then of
mm,
course, afterwards, I want to actually find the CEO because I want to have the one reaching out to.
mm.
And then at the end of the day, I update my HubSpot because of course, single source of truth being CRM. And I even have like a little notification from Slack where I have the direct link to my HubSpot contact link that I can
Super
just
good.
outreach afterwards.
That's impressive, man. That's amazing. You've just like pretty much just pulled off an entire newsletter site. You've used ChatGPT in the right places, clean the right places, got all the leads, got all the, LinkedIn profiles. I mean, just for everyone watching, right, who want to figure out how to get leads, this is what we speak about creativity, right? He's not just going to another Apollo or another scraping system. That's a very unique way of taking this. Lucas, thank you. That's very impressive. Appreciate that a lot. Is there anything else
Yeah.
that you wanted to cover, or can we jump into some questions?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's okay. And we can just jump into
Okay,
questions.
easy, easy. All right,
Mm.
so we've got a ton of questions. We're gonna try pick the best ones that I think the audience will care for, and we'll kick into that. Um, Firstly, do you have a response handling infrastructure? Like, is it response comes through, goes to make, you use ChatGPT to classify it? How do you handle your responses right now?
Sorry, can you say it again?
So
Kind of.
how do you handle your responses? Do you have an infrastructure for when replies come through? Are you manually going through this yourself? Do you have a VA? Are you using AI and automation?
No, I mean like there's a mix of both. I mean, definitely when it comes to the first screening, there's using GPT and AI. I mean, the most useful case is by using your own feature at Smartlead. So that's really cool because afterwards you really have some lead statuses which are updated. And so based on the lead status, there's make automation behind that transfers this to the CRM. And so once this is transferred to the CRM, the salesperson who comes back to CRM on a daily basis knows exactly to whom to reach out with a positive lead status updated. And so that's most of the time how we do it. Of course, sometimes we just double check, quickly screen through the inbox on Smartlead, making sure that the lead status is rightly updated. Sometimes there's like 5-10% that still needs to be double checked in case we're missing an opportunity, but most of it, that's how we do it.
Okay, Okay, cool. You've spoken about data scrapers. We all know everyone cares and loves data scrapers. Do you have your top five data sources? We've got Clay as one of them. Is there any other things that you want to pull out or mention, or do you want to keep it dynamic usually?
I mean, in terms of the in terms of scraping
No, just
tools, you
like data
mean?
sources, where do you usually go to? I mean, you gave a very unique and clear example using a news
Yeah,
site to pull information, but if you were
yeah.
to just give us access to some, insight to your brain, where do you usually go to pull that information reliably?
Yeah, I mean, here when you stick to B2B, definitely the best database that I always push, it's normal, it's Sales Navigator. Why? Because it's the one that updates the most itself, makes total sense. Everybody updates its own profile. So definitely this is the one to go. If you want to have a more budget-friendly tool for that, then Apollo is a good start, like we mentioned in the beginning. Why? Because you could just apply some filters. You can already directly get some
Sure.
emails, some phone numbers.
Mm.
Because if you start with Sales Navigator, you need to do the whole enrichment behind, scrape them, put them back on Clay, and find everything else. I mean, it's a bigger process, but I mean, it's also where afterwards, if you have put this into place, you can connect it to anything. So, for example, the blog website that I've shown, because anyway, it comes back to the enrichment part that is being ensured with Clay.
Okay.
So there's Apollo. I mean, of course, D7 is a good one. I mean, they're all more or less coming with the same. I know that Ocean.io is a very
Yep.
nice one.
Yep.
The price tag is higher, however.
Hmm.
So for those who are more budget friendly, it's a bit more complicated. But Ocean.io, what they do is that you just provide two examples of your type of company you want to reach out to, and then they give lookalike companies and most of the time, it's very top notch in that sense, in terms of
Okay.
research.
Fair enough. Makes sense. Makes sense. Awesome. Thank you for that. I've got we'll take one or two more questions, right? Firstly, while I was going through it, some people are ready to throw money at you. So, don't worry, we'll put in Lucas's details. You can reach out to him. He's on our Slack group and our Slack channel. Swapna will share the Slack link for you to join if you're not part of it already. But I've got one question to pop in over here for you, which is inbox management. I think everyone's cared about, the rollouts that's happening in February and so on and so forth. So do you have a process for inbox management? How long do you nurture responses before, passing the leads onto your client? How do you manage your inboxes? Do you have an automation to go ahead and pull, sign users up, your clients up on Gmail and Outlook, or do you do it manually? What's your take?
Yeah, so for us, it's a bit different because what we do is that we implement these outbound engine within the company's own infrastructure. So we don't have some sort of account where we manage all the other accounts ourselves. We kind of we build that inside so that we tell people how to set up their outbound tool, how to set up, afterwards the different email senders. I mean, definitely there's Lead Magic, which is a super nice tool where you
Yep.
can
Yep.
set up a few things, which of course we all know with Jess yet. And so these are the tools, but I mean, let's say that these tools are very specific if you're really just going for shit tons of leads you want to reach out to. Most of the time with people will start with building up an outbound engine, even sometimes when they're scale up, sometimes it's just easy to do it like 10 different domain names you want to buy, set up 5 email senders for each out of them, and it could be already sufficient enough for them to get enough bandwidth on some short and medium term.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, look, I think we're run out of time and people have asked some fantastic questions and we are going to answer the rest of them on the Slack group. But before we go, just a quick one. Some of you joined late because of a glitch on our side, so apologies there. But we've got a strong audience still. If you've joined here late, your recording will be shared on the Slack channel exclusively. So please make sure you join the Slack group and you'll have access to the recordings as well. We'll have it on YouTube eventually later, but for first access, go to the Slack group. If you want to find Lucas, you can get him on our Slack group. He'll drop in the details over there as well, how to reach out to him. You want to book a meeting with him, work with him, and so on and so forth. So, Lucas, any parting thoughts that you'd like to share just as general wisdom? You clearly know a lot. You know what you're doing, right? What's something you can say for anyone trying to get into space and starting in 2024? What should be the one thing we should focus on? Is it email infrastructure? Is it how to get leads, copywriting, ICPs? Just one thing if you were to tell. And I'm putting you on the spot.
Wow, that's hard. That's a hard one you're putting me on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, It's hard to just pick one, to be honest. I mean, if I had to choose at least two, I would say for sure deliverability, super important. If you want to become a true outbound master, on the long run, whatever happens, if you have a good infrastructure put into place, even if you have Google, Yahoo having this faux fear of missing out news or whatsoever, I
Yeah.
mean, if the
Yeah.
infrastructure is there from the start, then it's okay. Definitely. And so very important there. And we were talking about how if you do it, it's already 80% of the job done. It's database preparation. So all these
Okay.
different showcases, use cases
Okay.
that I've shared, it's also most of it due to database preparation. And then
And
the
I can
rest just
vouch for
goes,
that. I can
yeah,
absolutely vouch for what you said. It's like the fact that this is just one example you gave. I'm sure there's tons of other ways that you uniquely pulling out information. So awesome. And thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you everyone across the world who's joined us. We're super, super excited that we've had this event with you. We're going to have more conversations like this with Lucas and other experts. Thank you. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you next week, exactly the same time with just as good experts, just like Lucas. We'll have more content like this. Go to the Slack, you'll get the video, and please reach out to Lucas. Lucas, you're welcome to share your details in the general channel after this, and we'll make sure we'll pin it and highlight it so people can reach out to you. Thank you. Have a good day and take care, everyone.
sure. Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye,
See you.
all.